YouTube is on. So we'll see if we're broadcasting on Jesse's favorite line, YouTube. Don't we all? Get used to it. Or stand up and fight. You got a choice. There's funky sly guitar music that comes on every Monday through Friday, live at 5 on Newswire, on Facebook, Twitch, and Jesse's all-time favorite, YouTube, as he shakes his head on that. I got to do that. When he first starts, when he does the fade, and I instantly want to go turn up the volume because I'm hard of hearing anyway. I'm thinking everything isn't working. So I reach over there and try and turn the volume up on that. But nothing like a slow news day, which is, I think, absolutely impossible for 2021. Lots of stuff coming up on that. We'll get into more of the Twitter bans and the censoring and all sorts of, just incredulous stuff. Court ruling, actually, the Sixth Circuit had one heck of a ruling on there. We'll bring that to you on a little bit later. That was absolutely stunning. I didn't know the Sixth Circuit, which is up in the northeast area of that. This case was actually heard, I think, in Ohio. So it was something else. I think the word Mr. and Sir and Ma'am are actually allowed to be said in those areas, so you want to stay tuned for that little vignette. But the first one we're going to start out with is a little deal. Man walks outside his home, looks like he's getting ready to go out to work or something, chatting with the neighbors. That his wife walks out, and then all holy heck breaks loose. In this video, a bobcat, their two cars are parked together. Bobcat either was underneath the cars or in between the cars. The wife walks between the two cars, and whammo, the bobcat attacks her on there, and she starts screaming and that. Now again, for those of you that are sensitive, but since CNN can use the F word on the air, the man, and I mean, he's not using it in that. I mean, your wife's being attacked with a bobcat on her, so, he does that. But this is about a 45-second video going on of this, so here we go.
Good morning.
There he is putting his
I need to wash my car.
Yeah, he's got to wash his car. Here comes the wife. Now here's the first one. So the man grabs the bobcat. Now he's shaking it, holding it. Now he throws it.
Get up! Get up! Get up! Get to me! Get up! Lindsay! Watch out! Oh, shoot that fucker! Get out! Watch out! Watch out! There's a bobcat attacked my wife! A bobcat! Good morning.
Roll through. Just wait. Hold on a sec. As she's coming out, it looks like it comes out from underneath the front of the car to the left.
I need to wash my car.
Here she walks out. Pay close attention to that. I think she's got a cat in the cat carrier, and that's what attracts. That's what it appears, because she appears she's carrying a a cat terrier, and the bobcat is sitting underneath the fender of her car. And as you heard, it sounds like the cat meows, and that triggers the bobcat, and he jumps on her. Probably thought, man, this is the world's biggest cat I've ever seen of that. But man, just think of how shocking it would be. You start every day, and this pull the picture back up on number 4. This doesn't look like the hills area where you usually see bobcats. I mean, I've seen them up, if you're hiking up in the hills, or, around Merino Valley and stuff. You rarely ever see them come down unless there's a fire or something down in the residential neighborhoods too much, especially that populated. You see 'em maybe out where some of the rural houses, you might spot them a little bit. But I mean, that looks like a basic, neighborhood track area, stuff like that. And unless it was maybe somebody has a pet bobcat around there that got loose or something, but they usually don't come in that area. But it was, yeah, that's, when I looked at it, I'm thinking, man, maybe it was taking the cat to her kitty cat to the vet or something in the morning or something. But it obviously pretty looks because you hear that meow from the cat, and man, here comes that bobcat smoking out of the bottom of or underneath her car, it looks like. And man, the attack. But thank goodness her husband was there and grabbed it and got it off of her. The update on the story is, yes, the man did kill the bobcat. And probably very very timely that he did, because they did test the bobcat and it had rabies. So if and I'm sure the wife got scratched up, in the bobcat, I'm sure it stuck its claws in there. So and that's some, the shots they give you for that are not fun. Let me tell you that, of going in. So yeah, she's into that, but it's a good, well, she would have had to have them anyway, because it would have been, her doctors would have highly recommended it, let's put it that way, if they wouldn't have found the cat. But they did confirm that it did have rabies. So that's a secondary danger of having that. And the third thing is, it's why you should have firearms. So you never know when these situations are going to come up, and you're going to have to deal with them. And in this case, with the husband, eventually killing the bobcat, if they would have tested, found out it didn't have rabies, well, she wouldn't have to go through that, whatever. They did find that, which is good. So, I mean, she doesn't suffer no complications from that, because that can be that can be fatal. And if not, it can get really, really nasty, if not fatal, if a human gets, infected with rabies. So that was a shocking story, but kudos to the husband who went in there first and grabbed the bobcat off of there, because man, those things, you know what a regular cat can do some serious damage to you with the claws. Good size of a bobcat is that much more powerful. So it's a good thing he didn't get. I'm assuming he didn't look like he got injured or anything with it, because he was holding the thing up, looks like, and had it away from him. So hopefully he didn't get scratched or anything, or have to go through the rabies treatment, prevention treatment on that. But yeah, absolutely stunning, wild video came out of Ohio too, I believe. So you just never know what may happen. The whole thing, and we brought you the story yesterday on Project Veritas. Founder James O'Keefe was suspended over the Chester, the inside guy, the technical director at CNN, who
the all-new Hyundai Elantra has a 10.
Oh boy, here we go. Find out which one's on there on the deal, and shut off the speaker on whichever video is going haywire on us. But It's probably not that one. Look in the top row. There'll be a speaker on one of them. Yeah, okay. Well, just hold it mute, and then I'll dump this because we don't need it anymore. But Project Veritas founder James O'Keefe got suspended from Twitter for exposing and putting out a video that had the CNN technical director saying, yeah, we're using propaganda at defeating Trump in 2020. We do that. No problem. We use CNN to shape the narrative, not report the news. The reason we're starting out with the New York Post story is, remember back when the old Hunter Biden laptop thing came out? And the New York Post put out, yeah, we've got the tapes from the laptop, and Twitter banned them, saying it was fake news, didn't happen, yada, yada, yada. And then it found out, well, yeah, they really did have the tapes, and yes, those really probably were from Hunter Biden on that. Here's from the New York Post. Both Twitter and Facebook took extraordinary censorship measures against the Post in October 2020 over its exposés about Hunter Biden's emails, with Twitter baselessly charging that hacked materials were used. Twitter kept the Post's primary account locked for 2 weeks leading up to the election after the Post refused Twitter's demand that it delete 6 tweets that linked the stories that the company claimed without any evidence were based on hacked information from the Hunter Biden laptop left with a repairman. The Post never budged and kept the tweets on the account after the standoff, even as Twitter obscured them from view. In recent series of tweets, the social media giant said was revising its hacked materials policy and updating our practice not retroactively overturning prior enforcement. Our policies are living documents, said one of the tweets. We're willing to update and adjust them when we encounter new scenarios, receive them, and repeat back to the public. In my opinion, and I'm not a lawyer or give legal advice, this is a CYA by Twitter because I think they are potentially leaving themselves liable. Okay, so October, New York Post, okay, we beat Trump. After the election, we said ollie ollie oxen, no problem. Nothing here. We got Biden elected, so we don't care about it. Well, we'll do that, revise the policy. Well, you know what? Let's read the terms and policies of that, of what's on Twitter. They cannot just arbitrarily bump stuff just because they think possibly of this. This goes back to their fact checking and that. Who made them the arbiter? They're making grave errors up and across the board. We're going to have the tape of Ron DeSantis. A week ago, YouTube bans them. Facebook and Twitter would have banned Donald Trump, 45th President of the United States. They've censored material, blocked videos. They use excuse after excuse. They're using this crappy old excuse of, false content and this and that to bypass, in my opinion, their own policies. So one, on their revenue streams, they don't have to pay you because they're using this kind of excuse. Second thing on that is it's a contract that the terms and agreements of those contracts, of the terms and conditions they post, apply equally to both sides. So if they say you have the right to post X, Y, and Z, yada, 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 da, 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 then they can't just arbitrarily say, if they say, well, we're not posting false content or that, it's their algorithms. Or whatever. They can't blame it on algorithms. Algorithms were put together by a person. Somebody had to build that to do that, to block yours off. Now, in the case of New York Post and James O'Keefe, high-profile stuff, I don't think that was algorithms. I think that's somebody who says, we don't like being exposed. for what we are doing. Because it just keeps rolling on and on and on. So this is the other part. That was the first part about the propaganda. Now old Chester, Project Veritas, has released the video of CNN's Chester about Black Lives Matters. So for all y'all that shout racist and this and that and back and forth, here's what goes on at CNN with Black Lives Matters in their own words.
That have been attacking Asian. What are you doing? Like, we're trying to help with the BLM.
We're trying to help them with BLM.
Charlie Chester will shock you even more. This time, we see Chester reconciling the truth that actually exists compared to what happens in his own network.
I was trying to do some research on the Asian hate, the people are getting attacked or whatever. A bunch of black men that have been attacking Asian. So I'm like, what are you doing? We're trying to help with the BLM and we're gonna it's individuals, it's not people, you know? That's not good. The optics of that are not good. These little things like that are enough to set back movements, you know? Because the far left will start to latch on and create a story of criminalizing an entire people, you know? Just easier headlines that way, I guess.
So let's say that. First, the blacks attacking Asians, I wonder if that's called racist. On top of that, and he corrects us, it's not the left wing that he's worried about of using this, of that. It's those so-called straight white males, Trump supporters on that. Here we go with more of the Charlie Chester video from Project Veritas.
Yeah, I don't know.
So you're saying that the far left would label a whole genre of people? I kind of missed your point.
No, the conservatives, I'm sorry, not the far left. But I've noticed that you'll get headlines that might lump people together as opposed to focusing on the individual. I mean, that's what Trump ended up doing with the China virus, and that put so much flame on an entire group of people as opposed to a few careless individuals.
Right, the actual source, right?
Yeah.
But is it normal for the media to so say there's a white shooter, black shooter. Which one are we gonna,
Yeah, for the longest while, the story was people were lapping up that it was white guys for so long. I haven't seen anything about focusing on the color of people's skin that aren't white. They just aren't saying anything.
So there it is. We're not focusing on anything unless it's a white guy that's doing what they perceive as a crime. Anybody else? Free ride. Again, this is Charlie Chester, CNN technical director, on tape with Project Veritas. Like Trump, always blaming the China virus on the Chinese. Well, yeah, that's where it came from. They're the ones that done that. On top of that, the Chinese have been stealing our intellectual property, invading our universities, even financing lots of political campaigns. Talk about the Fang Bang and what's his name, the congressman up here, and all that. And then it was shown back to the local areas are doing it. They've been dumping campaign cash across the board, all across the deal, to get this stuff, headed up by the Biden crime family. Who knows how many tens, hundreds, even billions of dollars the Biden, led by Bagman Hunter Biden, the Biden crime family, have been paid off by the Chinese to pull this crap off. At least Charlie Chester finally is coming out and saying what's going on. Here we go with more of the video.
You know what I mean? They're just not. All of a sudden, that story loses a little steam, and they just like leave it be.
Why?
I don't know. I think it's got to be trends, like what people will latch onto. You know.
You're telling your channel, you were telling me, or just saying like how media is the greatest weapon. Where were you gonna go with that?
I mean, it's just propaganda. Like you can really. Sorry, my chime just went off.
What do you mean by propaganda?
Like you can shape an entire people's perception about anything on how you do it, right? Like
How do you do that?
just by like forcing the story to help like your platform, you know, like you can all of a sudden say like coal is the future of like energy. Well, that can be propaganda because like who owns the company?
So he's admitting that that CNN is a propaganda empire. For who? The Chinese Communist Party, the Biden crime family, or whomever? They had to get rid of Trump because he was blowing this stuff all apart. Yeah, he called it the China virus. He took away the trade agreements. He started getting that. He actually stood up to the Chinese government and said, you ain't going to come in here and rip us off anymore. That can't stand. I've called it shaping the narrative. That's what the dominant media is doing time and time again as we go through this stuff. Because it's absolutely ridiculous of what we endure of this. Now, again, those of you with sensitive ears, we're going to play the raw video because this is Black Lives Matters. Caught on tape on that recording. And people say, oh, it's just a few people are doing this, or Black Lives Matters doesn't do this. Here's the raw footage as caught on tape. So here we go.
One black man in America should be voting this time. Fuck that. Fuck is y'all talking about? Boycott the fucking vote. One black man in America. Somebody don't do that for our goddamn community. We're gonna boycott that fucking vote. Boycott. That's what we did to get his ass off. Because they said he wasn't gonna do that for our goddamn community. We're gonna boycott that fucking vote. That's what he promised what we did to get his ass off. That's what he promised America. He said he's gonna build from the bottom up to the middle. That's what he promised America. People reform. That's what he promised America. Fighting is saying the same goddamn thing. We're not gonna goddamn shame here. We're still out here fighting for the same shit. We don't keep here fighting. We're saying the same goddamn thing. It's a goddamn shame. We're still out here fighting for the same shit. What? It's a racist, fascist, Nazi-ass government. Who's streets? Our streets. Who's streets? Our streets. Who's streets? Nazi-ass government. One black man. Who's streets? Our streets. Who's streets? Our streets. Who's streets? Our streets. Fucking vote. One black man. Joe Biden don't do that for our community. We're gonna boycott that fucking vote. And that's all he did to get his sentence off. He said he's gonna because they got him up to the middle. That's what he promised American people. That's what he promised American people.
There we go. There's a guy with the Black Lives Matter flag. A big crowd today or yesterday caught on tape in Brooklyn Center, policed by the Brooklyn Center Police Department. The BLM folks are actually turning on Joe Biden now, which is deja vu, apropos, or whatever. Maybe they're figuring out the part of the con on this thing. Because you go back and forth. And you just wonder what they're thinking about. Yeah, they thought they were Black Lives Matter and all these rioters and stuff were thought they were cutting a big hog in the you-know-what. But then they got Biden, they got Harris, they got the Congress, they got the Senate. Yet even their agenda ain't going nowhere. They're still rioting in the streets. They're still using that divisive language. Everybody wants to talk sweet or this or that. Tell that. That's why we played the raw footage of the Black Lives Matters folks. Of that. Now, who's spreading the hate? The divisive rhetoric? Trying to cause civil unrest? I didn't see a lot of straight white males or white supremacy folks or Trump supporters in that little video. That's what's going on today. And for one thing, it doesn't ever seem to stop, and it will not stop unless a majority of Americans just say, not no, but hell no. We ain't taking this crap. You're not stripping away our freedoms and liberties. You're not going to let a bunch of thugs run our towns. We're not going to be scared. Because that's what they want. Just like with the COVID and the everything else, you're never going to get rid of the shot. What they just came on the deal. Oh, well, in about you're going to have a third shot now in about 6 months. It never ends. You let them lock their claws into you, it will never end. That's the reality of the situation. It's like the man in 1959 in Cuba. They were going to take his farm. Well, they did take his farm. He was protesting. So they held court right in the, right there judge, jury, executioner, and shot him. If you want lawlessness to reign, it starts with this. It's like the whole pack and the court deal. Joe Biden even said it was a bonehead idea in 1983 on the Senate floor. Well, maybe now it always starts incrementalism. Oh,
30 seconds.
We'll take a little bit of this, and then pretty soon it's that, and pretty soon you're thinking, how in the hell did this happen? Well, you got to pay attention at the first start of this stuff. That's why it's so important. Because again, they're doubling
Here we
down
go.
on this
10
stuff every
seconds.
day.
For the bold yet smooth, Blue Desmond Blend.
IE Newswire Daily is on the air.
The following is a paid program. Views and claims expressed are those of the program producer and are not endorsed by this station. Opinions expressed are not necessarily...
There's that funky slide guitar music that comes on every Monday through Friday at 5:30 on the Mighty Met 1490 AM, broadcasting all over the Inland Empire and the aforementioned AM band. Joining our vast video audience on iNewswire, on Facebook, Twitch, and Jesse's all-time favorite, YouTube. Of that going on. We ran the first half hour of that. We had the shocking story of the bobcat that attacked the woman. And we actually broke it. I didn't hear anybody break this down that I heard of it. We actually break it down. It looks like the woman's carrying a cat in her cat carrier. There was a bobcat under the car. Jumped on her. Husband, got the bobcat off of her, and eventually wound up, he said killed it. I'm going to make the leap. He found him a firearm and shot the bobcat. And it's a good thing he did, because the bobcat had rabies. On top of that, that bobcat is not going to attack any more human beings. And unfortunately for the wife, and I don't know if the husband got any damage, but I'm sure that bobcat, once it jumped on her, she probably got scratched, so she's going to have to endure the rabies treatment, which is no fun at all. And but all the more reason why you should, if you're so inclined, let me take that back. If you're so inclined, why you should have a firearm to defend yourself and family from stuff like this, but even more importantly, defend yourself from a tyrannical government. Just like as I talked about at the end of the hour, in 1959, when Castro was taking over Cuba, one farmer was there resisting, said, "You're not going to take my farm." He said, "Oh yeah." After they stripped them of their use of firearms, they pulled the guy out in the street, took out their guns, held judge, jury, and court right there in the middle of the street, and shot him dead on the doornail. Goes back to that we ran yesterday the Project Veritas from James O'Keefe getting banned for putting Charlie Chester, the technical director, that was saying, yeah, we're putting out propaganda. Well, then we get into the whole Black Lives Matter. Oh, well, we're not showing any of that. If they use violence against Asians, no, they're not racist. They're targeting groups on their race violently. Now, if that's not the definition of racist, then you tell me what the hell is. On top of that, so we ran through the video on that, and there Charlie Chester's admitting it. We're propaganda artists. We're not news. Which it is fine. They should post that we are a propaganda agency for whomever, the Chinese, the Biden crime family, or whomever. This is the latest one. Jesse's favorite YouTube banned Ron DeSantis, governor of the state of Florida. Now, you had a little bit of question about some of these masks. You had some experts, I believe, from Harvard Medical School and Stanford Medical School, two of our probably top, if not the top two, not only in the United States, nation universities of that. Some experts, this masking stuff and crap and this COVID really ain't, they're just rolling you a bunch of BS. So, Ron DeSantis had a little hearing with Harvard Medical School's Dr. Martin Kulldorff and Stanford Medical School's Dr. Jay Bhattacharya. I hope I'm getting that right. On children not wearing masks, it was immediately, very shortly after posted, pulled by YouTube. This is the video that they pulled of Ron DeSantis on YouTube about kids and masks with people from Harvard and Stanford medical schools. Here we go.
Not putting masks on kids, that's not effective, not necessary.
Children should not wear face masks, no. They don't need it for their own protection, and they don't need it for protecting other people either.
It just doesn't help on the disease spread. I think it's absolutely not the right thing to do.
YouTube censors Florida Governor Ron DeSantis' coronavirus roundtable discussion over a dialogue on kids in masks. DeSantis fighting back, inviting those panelists back this week to continue the discussion.
But first, Drs. Martin Kulldorff and Dr. Jay Bhattacharya, thanks for joining us right now. So obviously, you guys know what you're talking about here. Yeah, you think that Google and YouTube have behaved irresponsibly.
Yeah, I think, if you look at what the evidence says, it's very clear. Kids are not very efficient spreaders of this disease. They just aren't. There's evidence from Iceland, Sweden, the United States, Europe, all over the world that kids are not very particularly efficient at this. Kids are not good at wearing masks in any case, even if you ask them to, because they're kids. Requiring them to do so, you think it is not really necessary just on that, but it's also harmful to kids. If you look at the evidence, it harms their development, ability to learn to speak, especially for young children. It can have some significant drawbacks. So if you consider both the costs and the benefits, there's just no case to be made for the mask. We shouldn't do it.
Yeah, well, Dr. Martin, you are both world-renowned and highly respected doctors, so I'm wondering why your opinions wouldn't matter on this subject. What was your reaction when you found out that YouTube took down the footage of you giving your medical opinion?
Well, the problem is that the lockdowns and the vaccine passports and so on, there's no, that goes against the basic principles of public health.
So there you go. Lockdowns, vaccine passports, as the doctor said, goes against basic standards for public health. On top of that, masks not only don't do any good, or there is no evidence, as the doctor from Stanford and Harvard are saying, from kids wearing masks, there is no evidence that it stops the spread or has anything to do with it. It is harm. The evidence says, according to these medical professionals, is harmful to kids in various ways. Yet your school districts all across America are demanding, teachers through their union representatives are demanding that kids wear masks or they ain't coming in the classroom. And even if they do come in the classroom, well, we're not going to come in anyway. We're going to zoom in, but we'll send somebody else in there to watch them. We don't care if they die as long as we don't, if that's the premise. That's how twisted their logic is. That's why you will not see them debate any of this. That's why they want to censor it. Because 99.999% of the crap you see on the dominant media is propaganda, as Charlie Chester from CNN has said. This is not Roy. This is not Donald Trump. Or whomever. This is medical professionals citing evidence. Yet, the vast majority of you are putting up with this crap. The mask wearing, oh, well, we'll send our kids to school, or we'll distance learning, or that, or yada, 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 yada. It boggles my mind, especially you parents, why you are not, with pitchforks and torches at your school districts, demanding that they open the schools, open them now, and quit harming your kids, or mandating equipment that is going to harm them. This is absolutely crazy. I just can't, I'm almost out of words, and that's hard for me, probably hard for you to believe too, to describe this. Because you go back and forth, I mean, it just, I look at it and I'm almost, it's almost dumbfounding to me. The parents will put up with this stuff. Because I could see, well, maybe the other and this and maybe and da-da-da-da. But you look at when they're harming your kids, according to Harvard and Stanford medical professionals, how you can tolerate that is beyond me. Hopefully we'll recall that dingbat governor in California. That'll be the first shot of that, and then we'll go retooling the rest of America in 2022, which is no small feat. But it's a small feat compared to what happened in 1776 and a lot of other places, World War II, and a lot of other things. So I don't want to hear any belly aching about doing it. Just get out there and get it done. We'll end up the show today with a little bit, hopefully, some happy news for most of you. I know it is for me and a lot of people, because we've been locked up and treated like subjects for far too long. But finally, the long almost a year since there has been racing at Paris Auto Speedway, is going to return Saturday night at that modified super stocks, stock cars, and I think American stocks coming up to explain it all and tell you how you can finally see live events at Paris Auto Speedway. The great announcer from there, Scott Delosio. Welcome to iNewsWire with Roy.
Hey, good to talk to you, Roy. It's actually been over a year.
I asked you not to tell me that. Yes, it's been far too long. It is at least we're starting to dig back from out of the hole in this. Tell them what's going to happen at Paris Saturday night.
Well, tomorrow night, Paris Auto Speedway season opener. As you said, the 4 classes, the IMCA Modifieds and the Pass Car classes, which are Super Stocks, Street Stocks, and American Factory Stocks. They actually have not been on the racetrack at Paris for a year and a half because their last race was November of 2019. And they're actually running for more money this year than they've ever run for. It's going to be $1,500 to win the main event for the Super Stocks and Modifieds every night. And the Street Stocks going to run for $1,000. The Factory Stocks, we've never paid them except for a trophy. They're going to be running for $500 to win.
That in of itself is going to be interesting because I've been going to races for parts of 7 decades now, and whenever you put up the money, it always seems to ratchet up the competition even higher. I'm curious to see how it affects the racing going on now that the stock car divisions out there are actually going to be racing for some pretty high dollar bucks, probably more than they have in most of their careers. How this is, what exciting stuff we're going to see coming out there tomorrow night at Paris.
Well, like I say, it's going to be a lot of good racing. Not sure how the fields are going to be. They should be bigger than normal. We just got the go-ahead within the last, I found out about it Tuesday. So it was just within the last 9 or 10 days. So we've been trying to get everybody dialed in, get them ready to come out for the first night of race. We've been talking about it long enough. So hopefully we'll get a lot of guys we normally don't see out here. I know I talked to one guy, Tyson Talking To, who's finished second in our Street Stock Championship a couple years ago, and I think they're bringing 5 cars out just for the Super Stock division alone this year.
Right.
So,
yeah, that usually does that. I'm just wondering, since you're putting up or since you're paying $1,500 to win on the IMC Modifieds, and that goes a part of a national championship and stuff. And there's some pretty stout runners even up, not only in our own area, but, like Ethan Dutzen up from Bakersfield and guys like that. I'm just wondering if those guys are going to be marching down here to Paris to try and collect that a big $1,500 first prize.
a lot of guys have said they're going to do that. We'll see as it goes along. There is a 2-night race tonight, tomorrow night up at Merced. So some of the Central California guys may be hitting that as well, but hopefully, we'll get a bunch of them tomorrow night and a bunch throughout the rest of the year. Our modified field's been growing the last few seasons. I say the last few seasons. We got to go back to 2019 for that. And, hopefully we're going to get a lot more super stocks. We've been getting more super stocks, but not in the quantity we'd hoped. And I think this will probably do it where we'll get, hopefully 20 cars a night out of that class.
Yeah, it is. And, I've been impressed with up until last year. You were really growing the modified program up there and all the classes too. But the competition in the modified division was getting pretty stout.
Competition in the modifieds. Anybody who's not familiar with an IMCA modified race, pretty much wherever you go, when they race, you're going to see one heck of a race. I've been announcing the races this year. I've been up to announcing in Mojave Valley 3 times, and it's a great little third of a mile bank track just across the border into Arizona. And they got guys there coming from as far away as Wyoming and Kansas to race. And that's a good thing about an IMCA modified. If you have one here in California, you can race around the entire country. There's not, when it's IMCA, it's the same rules everywhere.
Yes, you'll get a lot of. That's why I'm wondering. I mean, not only to Saturday night, but I'm saying you're probably going to pick up a lot more heavy hitters on the West Coast traveling down, just because of the guys, running for the money and trying to pick up those valuable points. Which doesn't matter where you're running, you're competing against guys all across the country for the national championship in that division on that, which actually is, and like I say, not only here but all across the country, that whole division has stepped it up. Tell the folks what they can expect, how because everything changes, with all these new rules and regulations and stuff. So we don't want people showing up unprepared or questioning or upset because they get there and something's not this, that. So just kind of run through the general procedures of how to get tickets, what to expect, anything else, just from a fan standpoint.
Yeah, we don't want anybody getting there and getting surprised and disappointed. So one of the first things they have to consider is right now we're handcuffed. We're like the Dodgers, we're like the Ducks, the Kings. You have to buy tickets online. I'm not sure how long it's going to be for. It's probably going to be at least up until or sometime in May. But there's no walk-up ticket sales right now. You have to go online. It's easy to remember. It's TIX.com. That's where you get your tickets from. Once inside, we do have to do the COVID thing. We're asking people to social distance from the other groups in the crowd as much as best they can. Face masks, of course. We're also handcuffed like the Dodgers were at the start. And I think I don't think the Ducks are selling any food from what I heard. Concessions have to be ordered off a food app that's a free download. And then you'll place your order. They'll send you a text back and you walk back and pick it up, which, in some ways that's kind of cool because a lot of people squawk that they have to stand in line too long waiting for food. Well, this way they're going to send you a text and you just go grab your food so you're not going to miss much. So they have to do that. We just want everybody to have a good time, but still be conscious of the things going on around them right now.
Yeah, so we're talking with Scott Delosio, announcer, PR guy at Paris Auto Speedway, and as you've heard, various other racetracks across. I heard you up in Tulare doing the USAC CRA show a couple weeks ago or so.
Yeah, that was really cool. That's always been a racetrack I've went to off and on over the years, and they needed somebody for that weekend, and I got the call, which was I like announcing places where I really like. I also went up to the dirt track at Kern County Raceway for the first time, announced a CRA race there, and I didn't know what to expect. Well, when you go to a dirt track, you kind of know what to expect. And I was very pleasantly surprised for being there for the first time. It's a beautiful little racetrack with a nice surface. It's about a third of a mile, and great racing up there too. So it's been fun going to the different racetracks this year. I usually, because I'm so busy at Paris, don't have a chance to do any of that.
Yeah, that's one. I haven't been up to the new track up there in Kern, and I'm looking forward to getting up there. Speaking of that, and kind of previewing and. Is it officially on the USAC CRA will be at Paris Auto Speedway next week?
Oh, yeah. Sprint Cars is going to be their first appearance once again since the Oval Nationals in 2019. So that's been darn near a year and a half as well. They're going to be there next Saturday night. And then everybody's favorite, Night of Destruction, will be there on May 1st. And tickets for all those events right now are on sale at that same place, TIX.com. And we emphasize, you have to get your tickets online right now until they tell us we can sell tickets in person.
Right, and that's why I kind of wanted to bring that up. That's kind of going to, I'll get it out here eventually. It's going to be the procedure until until further notice. So again, if you're not planning on going this week or next week or the week after for the Sprint Cars or Night of Destruction, at least for this month and for the foreseeable future, you will have to get your tickets online. You will not be able to walk up to the ticket booth and pay your money and go in. That will not be an option. So just be prepared that if you want to attend, that you check in or go to the ParisAutoSpeedway.com. And you can go to the links and find your tickets there. But be forewarned. It's a little different world, and we all, however we feel on this, and I get to spout off on my opinions all the time on this. But this is the world we're living in, and until that changes, this is the reality of the situation.
And especially for us, like other tracks around California, we're on government property. A lot of people are just saying, well, why do you do that stuff? It's like, well, we kind of have to. We don't have a choice.
Yes, it is, and that's why, we can get into the politics at some other time of why that isn't necessarily a good idea and why you can't put a racetrack on private property, or it is extremely difficult, which we wouldn't necessarily have these conditions, but that's a discussion for a different day. But once we do, at least I'm going to say this, at least this is a step in the right direction. hopefully you'll be able to go out to Paris this Saturday, if not next Saturday. Be aware things have changed a little bit. We went to that. If you're unclear or anything, go to ParisAutoSpeedway.com. It'll be all up there, or how to get in, the new restriction or new rules, let's put it that way, of what you have to do to attend the races. But I sure hope you do come out in the next 3 weeks, because we got to get back to the way, I'm not saying that N word, back to the way it was before March 2020 when all this madness hit.
Yeah, I mean, the alternative, you have to buy tickets in a different way. You have to order food a different way. The alternative was a year ago.
That's
you couldn't
it.
even go to the racetrack. So it is, like you say, it's a step in the right direction.
That's it. Thanks for being on, Scott. Maybe we'll see you out there tomorrow night. But if not, have a great event out there, and hopefully a successful 2021 racing season at Paris Auto Speedway. Thanks for being on.
Hey, always a pleasure.
You got it. Scott Delosio, announcer, PR guy, not only for Paris Auto Speedway, but you never know. You might hear him anywhere else. Scott's absolutely top-notch on announcing the races wherever it is, and Paris Auto Speedway and the Inland Empire is lucky to have him out there calling the races, and they are. At least the season is starting there. I know it started in Irwindale last week. The Paris Raceway, the Speedway track, is running. I think Industry Speedway, the Speedway track, is setting up. Orange Show Speedway has not announced a schedule, but the R Fontana's down are doing their new track thing. They might not be back this year or next till they rebuild the facility into a shorter track coming on, so we might not have any NASCAR racing. Long Beach Grand Prix, maybe that will be back this year, so that'll be one big event, which is absolutely fun to go to or attend on that. If you haven't been, that is one heck of a happening out there. But as we said, hopefully, we didn't get us in this mess overnight. We're not going to get out, overnight earlier, but we got to take the steps to do it. First and foremost, out here in California, again, once that recall of Gavin Newsom is on, we got to make sure that doofus is out of office so we can enjoy events like Paris Auto Speedway as we did before Gulag Gavin and his gang started this madness on us. Have a great weekend on that. Do something fun. If you don't go out to Paris Auto Speedway, do something that entertains you. Get your mind off this stuff, because we'll be back here at Monday, live at 5, as we usually do. So, have a great weekend again. Till Monday. See ya.